So many people sit back and wonder why they don't yet have what they'd like to have when they haven't even been faithful with the little they've already been given. Here's the reason. Are you being a good steward with what God has entrusted to you? Today, we're going to unpack that. You're listening to the Take a Step podcast, where we help faith-driven young men embrace the process and take action on their personal growth. My name's Josh Johnston. Let's take a step. Before we jump into the conversation, I want to give a big shout out to Woodcraft South for sponsoring Take a Step. If there's someone in life that you want to leave an impression on, so if you're in entrepreneurship or sales and you want to impress a top client with a logo engraved gift, or if you want to send a sentimental gift to a spouse like a custom charcuterie board or cutting board, Woodcraft South designs custom woodwork that just captivates your attention. And not only do they deliver amazing work, but it's a brand that's so easy to get behind because Turner Lee, who's the owner, fully embodies the take a step mentality. He spent so long just working behind a desk and building this unfulfilling life. So he started this passion project in woodworking. And a couple years ago, he decided to take the risk and turn this part-time passion into a full-time business that continues to grow to this day. So if there's anyone you want to leave a lasting impression on, or if you just want a custom decor piece to elevate your workspace, you got to check out Woodcraft South. The link to their Instagram will be in the show notes below. Check them out, ask for Turner, and let him know you heard about him from Take a Step. Let's get right into the episode. Have you ever stopped to think about what truly belongs to you? Your money, your skills, your time. Do you own them, or are they simply entrusted to you? We're not the owners, we're stewards. Everything we have, our talents, opportunities, and even our challenges has been given to us by God for a purpose. So are you maximizing what God's entrusted to you? Have you ever taken a step back to ask yourself, what is it that makes me unique? Because I'm a big believer, and I'd imagine most people who listen to the Take a Step podcast are as well, that we've each been designed on purpose for a specific purpose by our Creator. And because each person's been designed for a specific purpose, that means they've been made unique. And these uniquenesses could be your skill set, could be your relationships, could be the interests that you have. So because of these uniquenesses, figure out what it is that makes you unique, so that way you can pursue something that's different than the guy sitting next to you. So this is exemplified pretty well in Scripture, in the parable of the talents, which most of you have probably heard of before. If not, then this is going to make a lot of sense right now, because Jesus explains how people have been given a different amount of talents, a different amount of abilities. People have been given different things that they have to work with in this life, but it's not about how much you've been given, but what you do with what you've been given. So in the parable of the talents, which is in the book of Matthew, chapter 25, verses 14 through 30, 3 servants are given different amounts of money. The first 2 invest and multiply what they've been given, but the third buries his portion out of fear. When the master returns, he rewards those who are faithful and punishes the one who played it safe. So think about that. Are you taking action on what you've been specifically given, or are you playing it safe? Is it something you're scared to take action on? Because think about it, what's the point in God assigning a certain talent or a certain ability to you if you never do anything to grow that, if you never do anything to utilize that to grow his kingdom, which is ultimately God's purpose for all of us. But at the end of the day, what are you doing with what has been specifically given to you? Because like I said earlier, we've each been specifically given something or a set of things, whether if it's a talent, certain relationships, your interests, whatever that is. Identify what that is, because once we have an understanding on what that is, then we can really take action. And that's what's important, is, are you taking action and growing what you've been given? Many people struggle with this because it's easy to compare what we've been given to others. Some are entrusted with more influence, resources, or talent. But does that mean that someone with less is insignificant? Absolutely not. What matters is how well you manage what you've been given. This is where, for me, the shift in perspective is so difficult. But while it is difficult, it's also extremely impactful as you start to dive into it, because so many people look at what they have, the materials, the clothes, the house, the car, the skills, all these things that we feel like are ours and in our possession. What if, I'm not asking you to do anything, but what if you started to view those as things that you were managers of, as things that were given to you, not that are yours, because, so many people feel like, I've worked so hard for my money, for example. What if that money you viewed as something that's been given to you to fulfill a greater purpose? I would imagine, if I'm just thinking out loud right now, there's so many different ways that I would choose to use my money if that was constantly on my mind before I chose to spend those dollars. So let's break this down. I'm going to dive into 3 different areas: time, talent, and treasure. So for time, are you investing your time wisely, or are you wasting it on distractions? Time is one of the greatest resources God has given to you, and how you use it determines the trajectory of your life. Talents. Are you developing your skills, learning and growing? Or are you choosing complacency because of fear, laziness, or insecurity? Just like the one in the parable of the talents that chose not to do anything because he was fearful that he was going to lose the little that God gave him, rather than saying, hey, I've been given this. How can I grow this? How can I take the little that I have and maximize what it is? Treasure. Are you being responsible with your money, giving generously, and using it to glorify God? Or are you spending it recklessly and expecting financial blessings to appear? Most people want more money, more influence, more success, but they haven't even been faithful with what they already have. Why would God entrust you with more if you haven't proven you can handle the little he's already given you? Guys, we'll get back to the episode in just a second, but I've got to tell you all about some really exciting news for the future of Take a Step. I'll explain it like this. It took me so long to realize the value in surrounding yourself with the right people and the impact that can have on the person you want to become. So what we're doing through Take a Step is launching The Tribe. The Tribe is a community of like-minded, faith-driven young men who want to take action on their personal and professional growth. You'll be placed in a small group of like-minded guys who want to build real relationships and push one another to pursue their full potential. What you're going to get out of this group first is just a strong brotherhood of people who want to see you grow just as much as they want to grow. Think of this group as your own personal board of advisors who want to give advice and also celebrate the wins with you along the way. And because of this positive peer pressure, you'll see accelerated growth because it's not just you. You're surrounded with guys who see the value in not only investing in themselves, but also those around them. If this sounds like a group you'd want to be a part of, or at least would want to know about, using the link in the description, you can join the waitlist, and that's not a commitment. All it is saying that you want to be the first to know so that once it launches, you can get your spot secured. At the end of the day, you become who you surround yourself with. So who do you want to become, and how are you putting yourself around people that are going to get you to that point? Stewardship is about responsibility and faithfulness. If you want to grow, don't just pray for more. Show that you can handle what's in front of you. A perfect example of a person I want to talk about a little bit when it comes to stewardship is someone that most people are pretty familiar with, but it's Truett Cathy, the founder of Chick-fil-A. You look at the company he built in Chick-fil-A, and everybody knows the values that they stand for and the impact that they've had on the world. For example, the fact that they've continued to remain closed on Sundays just to showcase that they have a biblical worldview and they value the Sabbath is a decision that has drastically increased the brand value. But what's the cost been in order to maintain that brand value and to grow that brand value? If they decided to stay open on Sundays, there's been studies around this. Research shows that they would earn an extra $1 billion a year in revenue if they just chose to keep their doors open on Sundays. Let that sink in for a second. $1 billion that they're foregoing just to say, hey, I'm going to be a good steward with the voice and the microphone that I have in the company that I've built. And obviously, that foregoing that $1 billion hasn't really affected them from a negative standpoint because they continue to remain arguably the greatest fast food chain in existence, and definitely has some of the, probably the strongest brand value as well when it comes to the loyalty of their customers and their fan base. And then back on the topic of stewardship, look at what they do with the revenue that they do generate, the kingdom impact that they have to glorify God. For example, the scholarship programs that they fund, the foster care initiatives that they fund, and then also the WinShape Foundation that they've built, hosting camps and marriage retreats. All of this is for the purpose of, viewing the revenue that they generate and saying, this isn't mine. We're managers of this. We've been given this. We've been given the opportunity to have the funding that we do have. So how can we use that and make the world a better place? And these initiatives are just examples of that. So what are some next steps that you can take? Well, block out a few minutes today for 3 action items. Number 1, answer this question. What is God uniquely giving you to steward? Think about your time. Think about your talents. Think about your treasures. Number 2, how can you take action this week on developing that specific area? If it's time, how can you take time away from what you would rather be doing to, put time into doing something that could have greater impact? And then number 3, whose life will be impacted because of me choosing to be a good steward in that area? And this is where the perspective change gets real, because it starts to develop the why on whose life is going to change because I choose to put the effort in, not seeing it as a task, but as a mission. One verse that I want to read you guys as we wrap up this episode comes from the book of Luke. Luke 16:10. One who is faithful with very little is also faithful with much. And one who is dishonest with very little is also dishonest with much. Thank you guys for listening to another episode of the Take a Step podcast. Always remember that no matter where you are on your growth journey, every single mile begins with a step. We'll talk to you in the next episode.